friend. Welcome to our Best of Summer series here on the Not Your Average Autism Mom podcast. So, summer looks a little different around here because let's be honest, routines change, schedules get messy, kids are home more, therapies shift, and life can feel a little extra full this time of year. So, instead of adding more to your plate, I wanted to give you a chance to revisit some of our most impactful, most downloaded, and most shared episodes from the past several years. These are the conversations that really resonated with moms in our community, the ones that made you feel seen and understood, supported, and a little less alone on this parenting journey that none of us planned. So, whether this is your first time hearing this episode, or maybe you're listening again from a completely different season of life and parenting perspective, I hope it gives you exactly what you need today. And don't forget, there are over 270 episodes waiting for you in our podcast library. So summer is the perfect time to go back and binge listen and catch up on episodes that you might have missed or revisit ones that hit home for you before. They are in no particular order, so just scroll through and find episodes that resonate with you where you are right now. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's jump into this week's Best of Summer episode. Episode 240, Pragmatic Language, Why It Matters, and How to Help Your Child Build It. Well, hello there. How are you today? Welcome to the Not Your Average Autism Mom podcast. I am your host, Shannon Urquiola, and I am mom to an amazing young adult named Jordan, who is 29 now. I am a life and parent coach and mentor to an incredible community of moms, all raising children and adults on the spectrum. And I show up here for you, our listeners, every single week because I know that this road isn't easy. I've walked it for over 2 decades, and I know the mix of love and fear and frustration and the hope that you need that all comes with it. This podcast is your place to breathe and learn and just know that you're not alone. Whether your kiddo just got diagnosed or you've been doing this for a while, I want you to know that you belong here. I love sitting down with you and having these real, honest conversations about things that no one told us we'd need to know when we started this journey. Now, before I jump into this week's episode, I want to take just a minute to share something super exciting with you. I actually had the opportunity earlier this week to be interviewed on the national news network News Nation Now with Nicole Burley ahead of the administration's announcement on autism that came out Monday, September 22nd. And I want you to know, I am always honored to be able to use my voice for families like ours, because I know how important it is that our experiences are represented and heard on a larger stage. So if you haven't seen it yet, you can find the link on all of our Not Your Average Autism Mom social media platforms, and we'll also include it right here in the show notes for you. I would love for you to go watch it. And please, if you have any feedback or questions, don't hesitate to reach out. So on today's episode, we're diving into something that often flies under the radar, but makes a huge difference in our kids' daily lives. And that is pragmatic language, which is just a fancy term that simply means the social side of communication. Pragmatic language isn't just about the words. It's about how our kids use them in real life situations, like turn taking and staying on topic and understanding when someone is joking, or even knowing how close to stand to someone when they're talking. Those are the unspoken rules of communication. So understanding both verbal and nonverbal cues, interpreting context, and knowing what's appropriate to say and when. For our children on the spectrum, pragmatic language is often one of the trickiest areas. And the truth is, these are the skills that often matter most as our kids grow, especially moving from elementary school into middle school, when friendships and group projects and social dynamics become much more complicated. And as moms raising children on the spectrum, I know that you have seen this play out in real life. So let me give you some real life examples that maybe you'll recognize. Literal thinking. So let's just say if you say, hold your horses, your child might look confused because they're picturing actual horses. Sarcasm, idioms, metaphors, those can all be really tough for our kids. Turn taking in conversations, I mentioned that earlier. Maybe your child talks at length about dinosaurs or video games, but struggles to pause and let someone else respond. Or maybe they interrupt because the thought is right there and they don't want to lose it. And for those of you that have been with me for a long time, you know that is something that we struggle with in our house with Jordan every single day. It's like when he thinks a thought, he has to say it at that minute or he'll lose it. But we're still consistently working on that. Another thing is, topic maintenance. They might want to keep circling back to their favorite interest, no matter what the other person is saying. The next one is context. Maybe they greet their teacher the same way they greet their best friend. Using, casual slang in a setting where it feels out of place. Nonverbal cues. Your child may not pick up on eye rolls, facial expressions, or tone of voice that tell you that someone is joking or they're annoyed or they're just ready to move on. So if you've nodded your head at any of these, Mama, you are not alone. These are all pieces of pragmatic language. So here are some more situations that just might sound familiar. So let's say you're at the playground. Your child might walk up to another child and immediately start talking about Minecraft in detail without even saying hello or noticing if the other child is even interested. And the other child might walk away, leaving your child confused or hurt. Or maybe you're at a birthday party and someone tells a joke and everyone laughs, but your child takes it literally and corrects the facts instead of laughing. Yes, I've been there. Suddenly, everyone at the party is looking at them very strangely. Or, let's say a teacher gives a direction like, hold your horses, we'll get to that in a minute. And again, your child responds, I don't have horses. They're not being defiant. They're being literal. Or maybe with siblings, your child interrupts constantly or dominates the conversation, not because they don't care what their brother or sister has to say, but because the rules of back and forth conversation just don't come naturally for them. Can you picture your child in one of these situations? Maybe it was at a birthday party or even just around the dinner table. I want you to think of one moment as we go through this so you can see how it connects to your real life. Can you see how this isn't just about speech, but it's more about connection and building that connection? So here's the thing. Difficulties with pragmatic language don't just affect conversations. They impact friendships and academics and later on, even work environments. Pragmatic language becomes even more critical as kids grow older. In elementary school, kids might tolerate differences and move on. But by middle school, the social world becomes so much more complex for them. They have group projects that require negotiations. Friendships involve sarcasm and inside jokes and subtle nonverbal cues. Think about middle school. Middle school is when social dynamics speed up. And if our kids can't keep up with those unwritten rules, it can feel like the world is moving on without them. If your child can't negotiate who does what in a group project or misses when peers are getting frustrated, that can quickly turn into social exclusion. And by high school, navigating sarcasm and peer pressure or job interviews all tie directly back to pragmatic skills. And beyond academics, this is about confidence. If your child is constantly misunderstood or corrected, it chips away at how they see themselves. Helping them practice these skills now builds not only their communication, but also their self-esteem. Without support, our kids can end up isolated, not because they don't want to connect, but because the rules of connection are hidden and they're hard for them to follow. So, kids may avoid your child because conversations feel one-sided or awkward. When it comes to academics, struggles with group work or understanding indirect instructions make it difficult. Their confidence suffers because they feel left out or misunderstood. And that, again, it chips away at their self-esteem. That's why focusing on these skills matters. It's not about making them fit in. It's about giving them the tools to be understood and to build relationships in a world that doesn't always bend to their way of communicating. Now, I know what you're thinking. Shannon, this all sounds great, but how do I actually help? So let's talk about that. What can you do to support this? And I want to talk through some practical strategies that you can start weaving into your everyday, day-to-day life. First, partner with a speech therapist. If you already have a speech therapist on your child's team, that's a great place to ask about adding pragmatic goals. And if you don't, that's okay too. It doesn't mean that you're behind. It just means that it's something that you could explore when the time feels right. If your child already has a speech therapist, again, talk to them about including pragmatic language goals in their plan. It's not just about articulation or vocabulary. Speech therapists can create structured opportunities to practice turn taking and role playing and understanding figurative language. If your child doesn't have a speech therapist, it might be something for you to explore. A good speech therapist can model, practice, and break down social communication skills in ways that are doable and practical. Second, I highly recommend look into social skills groups. Many schools and some private clinics offer social skills classes, and a lot of private therapist offices have these right in your communities. These are small group settings where kids can practice things like joining a conversation without interrupting, recognizing when someone is bored or ready to change topics, practicing greetings, small talk, goodbyes. This is real-time practice with their peers, which can sometimes be more impactful than practicing at home with you or other adults. And these are things, these are a few things that you can do at home. You can role play real life scenarios. You could pretend that you're at the store and someone says, "What's up?" You could practice different ways to respond, or role play calling a friend to invite them over, taking turns with greetings, small talks, and how to end a phone call. You could pretend that you're ordering food at a restaurant or introducing yourself to a person that you just met. Walk through what to say and when. You could also, use TV and books as teaching tools. Pause the show and ask questions like, why do you think she rolled her eyes? Or what do you think he meant when he said that? That helps them connect those nonverbal cues and hidden meanings. Practice conversation turn taking. At dinner, take turns telling something about your day. You could, set a timer for a 1 minute, or you could use a visual like a talking stick to signal whose turn it is. You talk and then they talk. And gradually you could increase the time. This helps them get the rhythm of back and forth dialogue, which is, again, a lot of times really difficult for our children. The next thing is work on figurative language, idioms, humor. Pick one expression a week and make it fun. So, for example, you could use break the ice, spill the beans, raining like cats and dogs, and talk about what it really means versus what it sounds like. Talk about, their literal version versus as an idiom, what that means. Model and narrate. So when you're at the store, narrate. That lady smiled at me, so I smiled back. That's how we show friendliness. Or I'm going to wait until she's done talking before I ask my question. Use social stories and visual supports. Write out short stories about specific situations like how to join a group at recess or what to say when someone asks about their weekend. These scripts can give your child confidence. Remember, mama, this doesn't have to be, a lesson. The best practice happens naturally in just your everyday moments that are woven into your routine. And I want to pause here and remind you, these skills take time. They don't develop overnight. And it's not about fixing your child. It's about giving them tools to communicate in ways that help them connect and feel understood. And here's what I'll tell you from experience. Some days you'll feel like you've made great progress. And other days, it might feel like you're back at square one and starting over. That's normal. These skills can sometimes take years to build. Just remember, every small step counts. And also remember this, communication is a two-way street. Part of this work is about helping others, like their siblings and their peers and their grandparents and their teachers, understand your child's unique communication style too. That's why I love the concept of the double empathy problem. So miscommunication happens in both directions. And it isn't always because your child missed something. Sometimes it's because the other person didn't take the time to understand them. This is why advocacy and education are just as important as skill building. So while you're supporting your child's growth, you're also helping the world around them learn to meet them where they are. Pragmatic language is one of those hidden or invisible challenges that often explains why our children struggle socially, not because they don't want friends or they can't connect, but because these invisible rules are tricky. And the good news is you can help with time, with practice and support from you, from the speech therapist, from social skills groups, and from teachers. Our kids can learn these skills. I want you to know that your child's way of communicating may look different, but again, different doesn't mean less. Every step forward is a step towards them feeling more confident, more connected, and more understood. Every week I show up here because I know how hard this can be. And I want you to know that you're never walking this road alone. And if you want to go deeper and connect with other amazing moms walking similar paths who just get it, I invite you to come join us inside our private membership, where real conversation, support, and understanding are waiting for you. And hey, if this episode made you, feel like you're not alone, it inspired you, or you're just a little more equipped to take on the day, I'd love it if you would just take 2 minutes to leave a review and share it with another mom who may need to hear it. The more we share, the more moms we can lift up and help them see that happiness is possible on this parenting journey that none of us planned, but we're learning to embrace. I hope this has been helpful and given you some insight and some things to practice this week in, your real day-to-day. Until next week, have a great week ahead. And remember, above all, you, mama, are doing amazing at this mom thing.